here to actually talk about crocheting. I have had an idea for a little while, close to, no, over a year. I've had an idea, and I want to start the process of that today. I want to make a bootleg snowman Froakie. So in the Pokemon Center, there is a snowman Froakie plushie, and it's one of those things that I saw it and I was like, I could make that. So I am going to make that. That's the plan, at least. The other part of this is that I realized that for the last 3 years, totally on accident, totally by happenstance, I make a winter snow-themed Pokemon around this time every year. So I figure, why not keep the train going? Again, it's not even something I mean to do, it just happens. So I figure, hey, why not? So I'm going to kind of show off the Pokemon I've already made, talk about the vibe that I want for the Froakie, and then make it. That's the plan. So the idea is very similar to this Pikachu here. This was the first one I made. It was a pattern. I will link the pattern. I will put the pattern on screen. I didn't think to look it up. I just started recording. I'm not gonna lie. Things I really like about this. Here, I'm gonna show you some behind the scenes here. He looks ridiculous without his little scarf on. He's all one piece. So I think that's gonna be kind of the plan for Froakie if I can make it happen. I like these I use safety eyes as buttons here. So I think I'm gonna go for that because I don't think the Pokemon Center has those little snowman buttons on him. We're getting him dressed again so you can't see how goofy he looks. I don't like how I did this scarf. This was just some acrylic worsted weight scarf that I double knit. I felt like I had to double knit it to keep it from curling, of course. But I just feel like it looked clunky. It definitely looks like I was like, I want to make a scarf in 10 minutes. So blah, here it is. And I just don't like the vibe of it. So it is fine for what it is. I'm not changing this on him, but I want to be a little bit more elevated for my Froakie. The other one I made is this Bulbasaur that I made when I was unemployed for 4 months. I was kind of like getting into month 3 or 4 of being unemployed, and I was just kind of, in hindsight, going a little stir crazy because I don't think I would have done a lot of this stuff if I made this now. I made this teeny tiny color work hat. This is an actual hat pattern. This is a full hat pattern that I scaled down to size 0 needles. I'm not even kidding. If you made exactly this on bigger needles, it would make a human-sized hat. I could literally make a matching hat for myself. I'm not, but I could. So then, what I did for his scarf was I took those same size 0 needles and I made this double knit color work scarf, which is just... At the time, it made sense. I'm not even kidding. Like, at the time, everyone was like, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm making my Bulbasaur a scarf. This is what must be done. And now I'm looking at this, and I was like, what was I doing? Why did I do this? So I just took the color work pattern from the hat, and I just repeated it several times on size 0 needles. It took forever, but it's here now, and that's also what's important. So he has a couple tricks. There's not enough sunlight, but this yarn turns purple in the sunlight. And then there's a secret little compartment under here. So I put little purple lights in his little crystals that I just sort of figured out how to make. So that's Wintersaur. I love him very much. And then for 2024, at the very end of 2023, I made this shiny holiday Psyduck. inspired by the Pokemon Go costumed holiday Psyduck. Same deal with this hat. This is a real hat. It was just scaled way, way down. This scarf, I just sort of freehanded. I crocheted it just in a tube, and then I just sewed the ends together. Because when you're working that small, it's really easy for knitting to like curl up and look like nothing. And I just didn't want to mess with knitting, so I crocheted him a little scarf. And I will put the pattern maker, both for Bulbasaur, the base Bulbasaur pattern and the base Psyduck pattern on screen, because I forgot to look it up because I just wanted to record this. So that's kind of the vibe of these guys. The Froakie, same thing. I just want him to be like a little snowman. I got this yarn for his scarf. I got this a little over a year ago when I was visiting St. Louis. That's not really relevant. That's just where I was. And I was like, I can get Froakie scarf yarn. And I did. So I'll have to figure out how I want to make that. And that's the plan. So I'm gonna see if I can sort of make a sketch of what I'm envisioning, and we'll kind of go from there. And I also want to shout out a lot of people. I had sort of soft opened my YouTube channel because I'm very new at a lot of things, filming, editing, audio, all of it. I'm new at it, and so I didn't really talk about my YouTube channel a lot. And someone in my knitting group found it. Not that I was hiding it, I just wasn't promoting it. And they sent me a really lovely message telling me how much they appreciated my videos and encouraged me to share it. So I shared it. Some of you followed me, which is crazy. So thank you for your support. It genuinely makes me more excited to make videos now that there's more than 3 people subscribed. I think we're up to 16. Let's party. So genuinely, thank you for your support. I'm really excited to keep making videos. It's genuinely very fun. There was just a really big learning curve, and I didn't want to promote myself when I wasn't putting out something I wasn't happy about. But I also wasn't going to get better if I didn't do it. So kind of that catch-22 there. Regardless, thank you guys again for the support. I hope you continue to like the things that I put out and the things I continue to make. And that's all I have. Let's start making a Froakie. Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen it, the Pokemon Center has this Froakie Snowman Plush, which is where I'm drawing my inspiration from. So the thing I don't like about theirs is that the body is like half the size of the head, right? It's like literally like proportioned like this. And I don't like that. I think I get where they're going, that if you look at Froakie as a character, his body is a lot more undersized compared to his head. So I think that's what they're going for, but I want like a traditional snowman shape like Pikachu. I think that's going to make a little bit more sense. So I want... The other thing too, and I don't know if this is ambitious, but the Pokemon Center Froakie is almost 8 inches tall. So I think I'm going to try to aim for that. But this is not... So this is the bottom, and I don't quite want a circle. I want like sort of this, where he's a little stout, where this is a little short right in the center, so that it's not an absolute perfect circle. Then I think our shapes... The other reason I think this is doable is because the shapes are pretty easy. This is even more of an oval. Get that good Froakie shape in there, right? And then the eyes. Yeah, this is also where I think we're going to get some of our height from. Is that the eyes are so big. Honestly, they're even wider. Okay, so you get the idea, right? It's not perfectly symmetrical, but it will be when it's crocheted. So then Froakie also has like this going on. I don't really know what they're supposed to be, but they are there. So I have thought about this in my head for, again, like a year, if not a little over a year. And normally, Froakie, right, he has these eyes, and the background color is a color, so then when he has his actual eye, this stands out. So how will the white space of an eye stand out against the white of the snow? And what I really think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to cut out a piece of white felt to put on the white yarn to differentiate that as the eye. That's the plan. And then I like what the Pokemon Center did. They have like the flat eyes here. So it's hard to see. Again, I don't even own this plushie. I'm just looking at photos as we're kind of chit-chatting here. But right now, this is just 1, 2, 3, 4 different shapes, all of which are really simple. So I have 2 thoughts here on what I want to actually do for the mouth. Because like we could do like one of these and like that's pretty Froakie. But I kind of like what the Pokemon Center looks like. It has kind of like this full mouth here. What I kind of want to do is nix that and just sort of do like a big scarf, right? So like he's a big cozy Froakie. So then we don't even have to worry about this. Like kind of how Pikachu is here. I'm not sure what I want to do for the scarf pattern for what's his face? For Psyduck. I think I used fingering weight yarn. Just so silly, but I used fingering weight yarn with a steel hook. I don't remember what size, and this is fine. Gosh, does a part of me want to double knit a yellow and blue snowflake scarf a little bit, but I don't super know if I have it in me right now. I know I don't like this. I didn't really care for this. This was just sort of a way to give Pikachu his Pikachu color. So, from what I can glean, the scarf pattern for this Froakie is like this, which I think would be kind of cool. I don't really know how I would execute that. So I'm considering, I think it would be easy enough to do a double knit, but instead of doing on the diagonal, just doing stripes. and then double knitting it would make it so that it doesn't curl or anything. Alternatively, I could do this again. This was really easy. I just crocheted in a tube and then sewed the ends together, but I feel like I want Froakie to have a knit scarf. So this is where we're going. This is the plan. This is the idea. And yeah, I kind of like this big body too. I think that will like translate. I think that'll track. I don't feel like his head needs to be bigger than his body for you to understand that this is Froakie. So there he is. I'm gonna start crocheting now. Okay, so I have the body and the head made. I initially was a little bit worried about these proportions because right now it looks just like an absolutely ridiculous snowman. But I have to keep reminding myself that this is not the entirety of the head. There's gonna be these eye stalks. That's not right. These eyes. So ignore this. This is my shorthand for the pattern. So obviously it's not exactly a one-to-one, but even just on like my sort of loose sketch, it's pretty close. What I did was I went out to 60 stitches for the body, and then I went out to 48 for the head, so I thought that that proportion would be pretty good. The only thing I'm a little worried about, I think I went a little hard on how big the body is. Like you kind of see here, like I was hoping this would go out just a little bit, and this goes like way out here. So that's not ideal. We can kind of squish it into a little bit of a better shape to kind of give it that shape that I was looking for, so that's not the end of the world. It stands up. What else can you ask for? So far, honestly, this is just like a first try. I mean, it could have been worse. So I'm feeling honestly pretty pleased with this. I think the silhouette will also look pretty good once he has that scarf here. Like we talked about with that Pikachu, Pikachu looks absolutely ridiculous without his little scarf. Oh hey, they're like the same size. That's awesome. So I think once he gets his scarf, that'll look better. I also did 11 rounds even here in the center, and I wanted it to be, obviously I wanted his head to be smaller than his body. I only did 4 rounds even here, and I was thinking about doing 5, but then I realized that the body was 27 rounds around, and if I did 4 rounds even up here, then his head would be 18, which would be like a 1-to-2 ratio. Is like, this is, what am I trying to say? This is 2/3 the size of this. So I thought the proportions would be about right. So I was a little worried if I did 5 or 6 rounds in the even portion that it would be too big. So overall, I think if I had done 1 more round on the head, it would have been a little better. And if I had gone out to if I had increased by another 3 stitches for the head, I think that would have been ideal, but my brain was just kind of stuck in doing things by 6 stitches around. So overall, for just kind of throwing this together, I think this is pretty good. I'm not going to undo anything. I think we're on the right track here. And then my next step is to make these eye thingies here, make sure that they fit here, and then this little nose thing, I really don't know what it is. That will be last, then the body will be done, and then it'll just be a matter of figuring out what I want to do for the scarf. I have a little bit of an idea, but I'm gonna hang tight until we are closer to the end. So on to the next one. There's a thumbs up. So we have a little froggy friend. He's actually turning out really well. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this. The eyes were kind of interesting to make. I didn't really have a plan for that. I think it worked pretty well to pull the yarn through the felt. I was actually surprised how well that worked. They might be a little asymmetrical, but you kind of have a little play here. So I don't think it's like a deal breaker. I think it also kind of depends on like how far out his little eyes are. So I'm honestly really happy. When it was just this, I was like, oh no, there's no way this is gonna turn out. There's no way this is gonna look like Froakie. And then when I just had the eyes on before I had the felt on, I was like, oh my god, he looks like a bunny. And then even as I was adding his little face balls, I don't know what they are, I was like, god, this doesn't look like anything. And then I added the actual like closed eyes, and I was like, there's a snow Froakie, there he is. So the actual Froakie is done. All we have left to do is the scarf, and I had an idea today because I was really racking my brain about how I wanted to do this scarf, and I think I'm going to try a chevron stitch. That will give it sort of the diagonal. It'll be a little wavy, so I think that'll give it something interesting to look at. That will be crocheted. It shouldn't curl too much, and it'll give it something interesting to look at. So I'm going to do a little chevron stitch. I think that'll also be like super cute for his little Froakie personality. So that is next, and then we'll have a little snow Froakie. I'm very excited. I'm very happy with how he's turning out. So I can't wait to do this scarf. Yeah. Okay, so we've done it. We made a little Froakie snowman. He looks good. Um, okay, I like him. He is not perfect. He is definitely not a one-to-one of what the Pokemon Center was selling. So when I started this, my goal was to make him at least 8 inches tall. I missed that goal by 2 inches. This man is 6 inches tall, but he's a really good size, like, compared to my other Pokemon. Oh, Psyducks right here. Like, they're exactly the same size. So proportional to the other things that are on my shelf, he's like the perfect size. So can't fault him for that. As far as the shaping goes, I think we crushed it on the base here. I'm very sad. I lost at chicken, I think. I lost at oval chicken. I wanted this to be out. I wanted this to be fatter and flatter. That was kind of the goal, but I just wasn't thinking right. I was like, if I go out more, it'll be the same width as his body, and I didn't want that. I didn't want them to be the same size. I wanted this to be really big to give this room to be wider without being as big as this. And I just kind of choked. I just was like, oh, if I go out too far, it'll be too big. And then he has like this really round head, which I wasn't going for. So I wish I'd gone out like one more round. I wish I had just done a little bit more of an increase. Even looking at the reference of the plush from the Pokemon Center, I'm like, yeah, you got that good shape. I don't have that good shape. That being said, it's not a deal breaker. It still looks like Froakie. I still like him. The eyes, this part, I think we crushed it on the size. This, super easy. His eyes are a little uneven. And I think the way I did it, I was like, I poked them at the same time. It was in the video that I poked them at the same time in the same place. So in theory, they should have been even, but that doesn't matter if you glue them slightly asymmetrically, which is 100% exactly what I did. So his eyes are a little funny, but like, if you're looking at him from just a different angle, you can't tell. And if you're looking at him super close, you can't tell. So as far as the build of the actual snowman, 9 out of 10 is pretty good. The scarf, here's the thing. I was actually zooming in on the scarf of the plushie from the Pokemon Center, and wouldn't you know it, it's actually double knit. It's not diagonal at all. The first time I glanced at it, I thought it was a diagonal stripe. It's super not. It's literally double knit with blue on one side and yellow on the other. And then the way it was tied around his neck, it gave the impression that it was diagonal knit. So after all this time of like trying to find a pattern and being like, how would you double knit diagonal stripes? I don't even know how I would do that. I spent so much time looking on Ravelry for patterns. The only pattern I found was in French. And I couldn't translate the pattern. I could translate the blog that it was on, but not the actual pattern. I spent so much time on this. So then finally I looked at it again. I was like, it's just double knit. It's just blue on one side, yellow on the other. I could do that. I could be done with that by now. And then I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to double knit a scarf right now. That sounds like it's going to take forever. That sounds really hard. That just sounds way too tedious for what I'm in the mood for. And so I was like, you know what? A cute Froakie vibe is a little chevron. So I pulled up a little chevron pattern, a little free one, and I struggled with it because the pattern for the scarf I pulled up had to be a base of 12 plus 3. So the absolute smallest it could have been would have been 27 stitches wide. And to give you a concept, this is 19 stitches wide and it's still pretty thick. So that just wasn't happening. Yes, you could have done it 15 stitches wide, but then it would have just been like a V and not the two little waves. So it would have just been V's instead of M's. and I didn't really want that. So I played around with it so much. It ended up taking up so much time because I was trying to figure out a chevron pattern that would work for me. And oh my gosh, I'm not even gonna get into the boring details here, but figuring out a stitch pattern that made this work took forever. And even these little zigzags aren't as zigzaggy as I was hoping, but I like that it's like a nice little subtle wave. I think it's cute. I will also say, I'm gonna disrobe him here. This scarf is like a foot long. This took forever. I really thought it was going to be done. This happens every time I make scarves for amigurumi. I'm like 6 inches tops, and then we'll be done. It'll be fine. And I'm always like, nope. They have not just this part to go around, but effectively this whole part. So 6 inches just gets around the neck. And then you're like, okay, well, I need more scarf. So I just kept thinking I was done, and I just wasn't done. I didn't even measure this, just for fun. Live react to how long this thing is. This thing's 15 inches long. That's too, and I really thought this was going to take like half an hour. This took a while. I don't really know how or why, it just did. But I took a risk, and I sort of pulled up the yarn on one side because I didn't want to have to weave all these ends in. That would have been insane. So I did that, and I was a little worried it'd be super obvious, but I just kind of tied on him so that that part is down, and then you can't even see it unless you're really looking for it for some reason, which I don't know why you would. Okay, he's kind of re-robed again, not exactly how I want him, but it's fine. The last thing, too, is that I was hoping that his scarf would be chunky enough to kind of like go over his face, which technically it is. I played around with the placement of this scarf before this little recap video, and technically you can do that. It looks really awkward. I don't really know how else to explain it. It just doesn't look quite right. So then I was like, well, should I give him a face? And I tried to like pull white yarn through to kind of give him like a froggy smile here, but without it being like really in your face. And it just wasn't working. It just wasn't happening. So I gave up on all of that. I just left his scarf as it was. And I was like, okay, this is, yeah, like if you built a Froakie Snowman outside, it would look something kind of like this. Also, I didn't give him his little buttons. I just straight up forgot. I was just crocheting, and I was just going, and I was in the zone, and I just completely forgot. For Pikachu, these are little safety eyes. So I just put little safety eyes on him like the coal buttons, and I just 100% forgot. I think it's fine. I feel in a way like he's a little plain, like he needs either a mouth or little buttons or something, but this scarf is such a showstopper. Oh, also, this yarn, dude, I saved the tags just so I could shame this yarn. Ella Ray Honey, this Easy Care Soft Vegan yarn. Awful. Some of the worst yarn I've ever worked with. It's split like absolute craziness. I'm sure you saw it in the video, but this is like a 6-ply that just comes apart. It just comes apart. It's split like crazy. And both the yellow and the blue were this same yarn, and it split so much. And I was using a very small hook, which is maybe on me. I was using this wasn't it. I think it was a 3.25. It's a fingering weight yarn. I used a 3.25, but I wanted to make the scarf as thin and as small as possible so it didn't look like super meshy. So that's my snowman Froakie. I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. He loses a point just because if this head shape was like a little wider, it would have been perfect. It would have been a 10 out of 10, but having this on my shelf, I will look at him and go, yeah, that's a frog. And that's all that's going to go through my head whenever I look at him and nothing else. So 9 out of 10 for Froakie. Okay, so that's Froakie. This was a little bit different than the videos I've made, but I'm going to be super honest. The videos I've made in the past have all been so long, and I like making long videos. I genuinely do. But I think it's also okay for me to cut myself some slack and do a shorter one. And with my luck, this will still probably be an hour long because that's what I do. This is the first time I've really showed myself crocheting the way that I have. Let me know if you like that. Let me know if you don't. Let me know what you want to see or don't want to see. Let me know if you like Froakie. Follow along, see what else I make. I actually don't have a plan for my next video. I was excited to make Froakie, and now he's done. I don't know what I'm going to do now. But I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to make something, and it's going to be awesome. So follow along, follow me, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'm going to make more cool stuff, and I can't wait to do it. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! Hey guys, I just wanted to say thank you again, especially if you watched this video all the way to the end. I am just here to let you know that I did write out a free pattern for this Froakie, and I have put it up on Ravelry. So the link for that will be down below in the description if you want to make a Froakie of your own. If you do, definitely tag me. I'd love to see it, and happy crocheting. Bye guys!